Today we'll dive deep into how you can captivate others without saying a word. Before we begin this journey together, I'd love to know where in the world you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below, and if you find value in these insights, hit that like button and subscribe to continue our exploration of human nature and power dynamics. The modern world floods us with words. Emails, texts, social media posts. We're drowning in language. Yet paradoxically, as words multiply, their power diminishes. What truly captivates in our overconnected age is not what you say, but your presence, that ineffable quality that commands attention when you enter a room. Consider historical figures who commanded extraordinary influence: Cleopatra, Napoleon, Marilyn Monroe. What set them apart wasn't primarily their words, but their presence, a magnetic field that drew others in. They understood that seduction is not about clever phrases or rehearsed lines. It's about embodying something that others are irresistibly drawn to. This presence isn't mystical or inborn. It's a skill that can be cultivated through deep self-awareness and strategic action. Today, I'll share the principles that will transform how you move through the world, allowing you to influence others without uttering a sound. Remember, your strongest statements are often the ones you never speak. In my years studying power and seduction, I've observed that the most influential people communicate as much through silence as through speech. Silence creates space that others fill with their desires, fears, and projections. When you resist the urge to fill every moment with words, you transform from a common character to an enigma. Consider the technique of calculated absence. By occasionally withdrawing your presence entirely, you create a void that heightens your impact when you return. This is the principle behind playing hard to get, not as a game, but as a strategy that increases your perceived value. When your presence becomes intermittent rather than constant, people begin to treasure it. Your physical bearing conveys volumes about your self-perception. Stand tall, move deliberately, and occupy space unapologetically. Research shows we make judgments about others within seconds of meeting them, largely based on nonverbal cues. These snap judgments influence how people interpret everything you subsequently say and do. Pay attention to micro-expressions, those fleeting facial movements that reveal true emotions. Training yourself to control these tells while reading them in others gives you tremendous advantage in any interaction. Remember that your eyes are particularly powerful. Maintaining steady, comfortable eye contact signals confidence and creates an almost hypnotic connection. The fundamental paradox: to have a compelling presence, you must be fully present. In an age of distraction, the ability to give someone your complete attention has become extraordinarily rare, and therefore valuable. When you truly focus on someone, making them feel like the only person in the room, they'll be drawn to your orbit naturally. One of the most compelling qualities you can develop is self-containment, the sense that you possess an inner world rich enough that you don't desperately need external validation. This creates an irresistible gravity around you, pulling others toward your orbit rather than you chasing after theirs. Consider how children are drawn to adults who seem absorbed in interesting activities rather than those actively trying to entertain them. This same principle applies throughout life. The person frantically trying to impress rarely does, while the self-contained individual naturally attracts curiosity and interest. Self-containment requires emotional regulation. When you react dramatically to provocations, you reveal insecurity and hand power to whoever can trigger you. Instead, cultivate the ability to respond rather than react, maintaining your composure even when challenged. This creates an impression of unshakable strength. There's immense power in unpredictability, not erratic behavior, but strategic unpredictability. When people can't easily categorize you or predict your responses, they remain engaged, attentive to what you might do next. Break patterns occasionally. If you're known for being serious, reveal playfulness. If you're typically talkative, embrace meaningful silence. Remember that mystery is compelling. In an era of oversharing, the person who maintains healthy boundaries around their personal information becomes intriguing. I'm not advocating artificial secretiveness, but rather selective revelation. Share enough to create connection, while preserving aspects of yourself that others must earn access to. The truly self-contained person doesn't need to announce their value, they simply embody it. Their presence says what words cannot: I am enough. Charisma often seems mysterious, an X factor. Some people naturally possess. But through my research, I've identified specific components that, when combined, create this magnetic quality. Think of charisma as an equation with distinct variables you can consciously adjust. The first component is presence, true, undivided attention to the moment and the people in it. When your mind wanders during interactions, it shows, diminishing your impact. Meditation can strengthen this ability to remain fully engaged despite distractions. Next is power, the perception that you can affect the world around you. This doesn't require formal authority or physical strength. It manifests through decisive action, clear boundaries, and comfort with your own agency. Even small demonstrations of competence build this perception. The third element is warmth, genuine goodwill toward others that makes your power appealing rather than threatening. Without warmth, power creates fear rather than attraction. Warmth comes through in subtle cues, the softening around your eyes when you smile, open body language, and thoughtful gestures that demonstrate consideration. Authenticity binds these elements together. People have remarkable instincts for detecting incongruence. When your words, actions, and body language align with your true self, you create trust. When they don't, you trigger subconscious alarm bells. This doesn't mean revealing everything or acting on every impulse. Rather, it's about congruence between your outer expression and inner reality. Conviction is the final multiplier in the charisma equation. When you deeply believe in something, whether an idea, cause, or your own vision, this certainty becomes contagious. The person convinced of their own worth tends to convince others too. Remember, charisma isn't about being loud or dominating conversations. Often, the most charismatic presence in a room is the one making others feel intelligent, valued, and heard. Your body communicates constantly, often contradicting your carefully chosen words. Mastering nonverbal communication means first becoming aware of the signals you're already sending, then learning to align them with your intentions. Start with posture, the most immediate indicator of your internal state. Slouching signals submission or depression, while an overly rigid spine suggests tension and insecurity. Find the natural balance. Stand as if an invisible thread pulls upward from your crown, allowing your shoulders to relax downward. This posture communicates both strength and ease. Hand movements reveal more than most realize. Excessive gesturing often signals nervousness, while completely still hands can appear unnatural. The most compelling communicators use purposeful, measured gestures that emphasize key points without distraction. Study how your hands move when you're completely relaxed versus anxious. The difference is revealing. Pay attention to your walking pace. Moving too quickly suggests anxiety or a desire to escape. Too slowly may signal depression or manipulation. The most attractive pace conveys purpose without hurry. You have somewhere to go, but you're not desperate to get there. Voice is another powerful presence tool. It's not about volume, but about resonance and modulation. Speaking from your diaphragm rather than your throat creates authority. Varying your pacing creates engagement. Strategic pauses give weight to your words, while occasional acceleration builds excitement. Mirror neurons in our brains cause us to unconsciously mimic those around us. Use this by subtly matching others' breathing patterns or posture to create rapport. But beware of complete mirroring, which can feel manipulative when detected. Remember that your body responds to your thoughts. Before important interactions, visualize yourself as precisely the presence you wish to embody. Your physiology will follow your mental imagery, creating a virtuous cycle between mind and body. In an attention economy, the ability to direct, sustain, and withdraw attention becomes currency. Masters of presence understand this intuitively. They know exactly where to place their attention and how to command others. First, recognize that attention is zero-sum. When you give it to one person or activity, you necessarily withhold it from another. This makes your attention valuable, something to be earned rather than freely given. Be selective about where you direct this precious resource. Practice the art of deep listening. Most people listen while preparing their next statement. When you listen with your entire being, eyes, body language, and full mental focus, you create a profound connection. The irony: by focusing attention outward this way, you become more magnetic yourself. Learn to modulate the intensity of your attention. Sometimes a gentle, diffused awareness serves best. Other times, laser-like concentration is required. Masters can shift between these states fluidly, matching their attentional quality to the situation. Use attention strategically in groups. When others speak, really listen. When you speak, do so with purpose. Notice who commands attention naturally and observe their methods. Often, it's not the loudest voice but the most timely and valuable contribution that draws the room's focus. Develop comfort with being the focus of attention without becoming addicted to it. The need for constant attention reveals insecurity. True presence includes the confidence to step back when appropriate, allowing others their moment while remaining secure in your own worth. Remember that what you consistently pay attention to shapes your reality and signals your values to others. When you attend to the negative, petty, or superficial, you diminish your presence. When you direct attention toward what's meaningful, beautiful, or consequential, you elevate it. The ultimate attention strategy: make others feel seen. In a world where most people feel invisible, the gift of genuine recognition creates a powerful impression that no words could match. Perhaps the most counterintuitive aspect of powerful presence is the strategic use of vulnerability. We often believe strength means appearing invulnerable, but this creates distance rather than connection. Calculated openness, revealing selective vulnerabilities, creates profound bonds. The key lies in understanding the difference between weak vulnerability and strong vulnerability. Weak vulnerability comes from insecurity, oversharing, seeking reassurance, or using personal struggles to avoid responsibility. Strong vulnerability emerges from security, the confidence to occasionally reveal authentic struggles, doubts, or mistakes without needing rescue. Timing matters tremendously. Vulnerabilities revealed too early appear manipulative or desperate. Those never revealed create an impression of inauthenticity. The most compelling pattern gradually increases intimacy through proportional sharing, offering personal insights at a pace that matches developing trust. Context also determines impact. A vulnerability shared with everyone loses its power to create special connection. One shared in an appropriate private moment becomes a bridge between souls. Be selective not only about what you reveal but to whom and when. Remember that vulnerability isn't just verbal. Sometimes physical vulnerability, relaxed body language in tense situations, maintaining openness when others close off, communicates more powerfully than words. These nonverbal cues signal a deep self-assurance that's inherently attractive. The ultimate vulnerability paradox: revealing certain weaknesses actually highlights your strengths. Acknowledging a specific flaw demonstrates self-awareness. Admitting a mistake shows integrity. Expressing genuine emotion reveals humanity. These vulnerabilities don't diminish your presence. They make it more authentic and therefore more powerful. In a world of carefully curated images and performances, the person secure enough to be selectively real stands out. This isn't about performative authenticity, deliberately exposing flaws for effect, but about the quiet confidence to be truthfully yourself. Your presence extends beyond your physical body to include the spaces you inhabit and create. Masters of seduction understand that environments are powerful tools for shaping perception and experience. Your home, office, even your social media, all are extensions of your presence. Consider how certain spaces make you feel immediately at ease or perpetually on edge. This isn't accidental. It's the result of conscious or unconscious design. Develop awareness of how different environments affect both you and others, then craft your spaces intentionally. The objects you surround yourself with speak volumes. Clutter suggests a cluttered mind. Excessive luxury can signal insecurity. Thoughtful items with personal history reveal depth and authenticity. Curate your environment not to impress but to express your true values and interests. Light dramatically affects perception. Harsh overhead lighting creates anxiety. Soft, layered lighting induces comfort and flatters everyone present. Temperature matters too. Slight warmth produces physical and psychological comfort that gets transferred to your presence. Scent operates directly on the limbic brain, bypassing rational thought to create immediate emotional associations. Your personal scent, whether natural or subtly enhanced, becomes part of your signature presence, triggering memory and attraction through the most primal sense. Sound shapes experience profoundly. A well-modulated voice in a quiet space commands more attention than shouting in chaos. Background music affects mood and energy. Even subtle sounds like a ticking clock or rustling papers impact perception. Control your sonic environment when possible. Strategic placement within spaces affects your presence. The person who sits at the head of the table, stands near the entrance, or positions themselves against a wall rather than in the middle of a room automatically commands more attention and appears more authoritative. Remember, the environments you create and choose become associated with you in others' memories. A thoughtfully designed space that engages the senses and makes others feel both comfortable and intrigued becomes a powerful extension of your seductive presence. We've explored the components of magnetic presence. Now let's discuss how to develop this quality through dedicated practice. Like any powerful skill, presence can be cultivated through awareness and consistent effort. Begin with physical practices. Your body and presence are inseparable. Movement disciplines like dance, martial arts, or yoga develop body awareness and control. Voice training improves resonance and projection. Even basic practices like conscious breathing alter your physiological state, enhancing your presence immediately. Next, develop mental practices. Meditation strengthens your ability to remain present despite distractions. Visualization techniques program your nervous system for confidence. Journaling builds self-awareness. These internal practices manifest externally as a more compelling presence. Create deliberate challenges that stretch your comfort zone gradually. If public speaking terrifies you, start with small groups before addressing crowds. If maintaining eye contact feels uncomfortable, practice with trusted friends before important meetings. Incremental exposure builds capacity. Seek honest feedback from those you trust. We all have blind spots regarding how we come across to others. Regular, specific input helps you refine your presence without becoming self-conscious. The goal is awareness without excessive self-focus. Study those with exceptional presence, both historical figures and people you know personally. Notice not just what they do but how it makes you feel. Often the most powerful elements are subtle: a quality of attention, an economy of movement, a well-timed silence. Remember that powerful presence requires sustainability. Techniques that drain you quickly have limited value. True presence emerges from alignment between your authentic self and your expression in the world. When these align, presence becomes energizing rather than exhausting. Finally, recognize that presence is contextual. Different situations call for different qualities. Developing range, the ability to adjust your presence for various environments while maintaining authenticity, makes you effective across contexts. The ultimate practice is integration, moving from conscious competence, applying these principles with effort, to unconscious competence, embodying them naturally. When presence becomes your default state rather than something you perform, you've truly mastered the art of seduction through presence. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. Remember, in a world drowning in words, your presence speaks volumes. Use it wisely.